All right, welcome to the room. The title, the little intro clip that I showed, probably labeled it, gives away what the video is about, but welcome to the room today. We are checking out my guitar, a 2009 American Standard Strat. It was made in the factory with 3 single coil pickups. I have since made it an HSS, so not the most original idea in the world. Put a custom aluminum pickguard on it, changed out some of the colors, black knobs, no big deal. They are rocket fire pickups in the neck and middle position and a Fralin PAF style humbucker pickup in the bridge. However, there are many videos exploring what happens if you replace the volume pot with a 500K instead of the standard 250K that comes with a Fender single coil guitar. And so I wanted to do that and really show the difference in the humbucker here. This is the only change I'll be making is the pot throughout the video. I'll show you the replacement process and then we'll do some sounds. But unlike most of the videos out there, I want it to be a little bit more thorough. So I wanted to hear the difference in clean sounds, some jangly stuff, and then all the way up to some pretty high gain things. And we'll throw some pedals in there, but I'll also use my Sir Badger as the amp of choice for this. It's a Marshall style amplifier, so British overdrive sort of tone, and so we'll use that clean and then we'll wind it up and get some distortion on there. Component wise, we will be putting in this, I'll do a zoom in shot if this doesn't focus in on it, stacked potentiometer. It's a licensed Fender genuine part, but it is a 250K and a 500K volume pot stacked on top of each other with one single knob. And so what you can do is leave the 250K resistance from the volume pot on the neck and middle positions and then put a 500K pot on the humbucker in the bridge, giving you the 2 different pot values that you want essentially on the pickups or in theory want. Right now all I have is a 250K volume on all 3. And so the bridge is a little darker than I would like it to be. I do want to have some of that PAF open sparkly top end, and I want to see if this 500K volume pot gets us there. And we're going to take this from clean to overdrive. So we're going to do some of the installation. I'll show you some of that. I'll show you the wiring schematic and at least reference the links where you can find the wire schematic and some of these parts if this is something that you're interested in doing for yourself. But for now, let's get to it. Taking a quick look at the before, this is the back side of the pickguard, still all wired in with the original wiring. Rocket fire single coil pickups, neck and middle position, and then a Fralin PAF humbucker pickup in the bridge. But what you see here is a single volume 250K, and then the 2 tone pots wired in with the same cap. Moving on to what is the new diagram that will be installed, and I'll provide a link in the description. But this is the diagram that we are wiring to. In this project at the moment, I'm about halfway done. And this just goes to show you with that 5-way super switch how much wiring there is to go and tuck inside. It's really, really, confined compartment and a bunch of wires to stuff in there. Also, you could see the 2 different tone caps on the what ends up being the bridge tone pot and the middle and neck tone pot. And then you could see the stacked 250 and 500K volume pot as well. And then this is what it looks like when it's fully done. So all of the wiring is tucked in there nicely. I've already tested it to work, just using the output jack and then plugging a wire into the amp with a screwdriver on the pickups. You'll see all the ground wires and the signal wires wired into the guitar naturally because this is just waiting to be assembled and finally assembled back in the guitar. As a quick note, I normally do a ground jumper between all of the pot casings to ground everything nicely. But this is an anodized metal pickguard, and so with the metal pickguards, I don't do that because it can be grounded through the pickguard, but you have to make sure that you scratch off the coating first. All right, real quick, back in the room, back to this guy fully assembled. Before we do the pre and post sounds, I'll have a bunch of clips, a bunch of little different sound bites that I'll mix in the before and after modifications. So, one thing. This was a brand new set of strings before I did the pre, then I did the electronics work, and I have the same brand new set of strings. So the only play time on the strings that you're hearing is just the pre sounds and the post sounds. So hopefully as similar as a sound a set of strings can get. So a similar brand new set basically for both of those. I wanted to make everything else is the exact same. I want to make one mention of the differences. The pre-sound is a 250K volume pot, and it is an 047 tone cap on the humbucker, on the 250K pot that winds down the tone on the humbucker. So 250, 250 with an 047 tone cap. The post is the 500K volume pot on the humbucker, the 250K that was there before, but it's an 022 tone cap. While I was in there, I made that change to be more similar to what you'd see on a humbucker. So those are the two dissimilar things between the sounds, is the 250 versus 500K pot, and then on the tone pot going for, to the humbucker itself is an 022 as opposed to the 047 that started there. That said, the clean and the overdrive on the amplifier, I have two sounds that I'm going to use. Pretty wide open master, low pre-gain for the clean sound, big headroom clean sound, and then wound up on the pre-gain and backed off on the master volume for a squishy, overdriven, plexi-ish sound. However, the volume and tones were both at 10 for all of those, both pre and post. So, you're getting the little bit of bleed and tone difference between these pots, but there's no difference in the pre and post sounds, pre-modification and post-modification sounds, with me messing with, one was set on 8 on the volume pot and one was 10. They're both wide open, fully wide open, the tone pot and the volume, just for reference. And all of these sounds are exclusively on the humbucker in the bridge here on this guitar. So without further ado, let's hear the pre and post, the before and after sounds. Let me know if you can hear a difference. right, so back in here to wrap this up. In terms of modifications, this is an HSS Strat. It's a 2009 American Standard Fender Strat, maple neck obviously. I've done an HSS mod with an aluminum pickguard. The pre and post sounds that we looked at in this video were really, it ended up being two electronics modifications, but it was, the pre sounds are a 250K volume pot on a humbucker in the bridge position, and the post sounds are a 500K volume pot on the humbucker in the bridge positions. The other change was going from an 047 cap to an 022 cap on the tone pot. Both of the pots, volume and tone, were wound up fully on all sounds between pre-post and between low gain and high gain settings. So take that for what it's worth, but I did try to minimize the variables as best as I could. The strings, the set of strings that I used were brand new prior to the pre-sounds. So I played for all of what you saw, 3 to 5 minutes on a brand new set of strings, did the modifications in the guitar, and then played the post sounds. So as close to a fresh set of strings, or even better, the same fresh-ish set of strings comparing both of these things. I didn't change the pickup height at all, didn't change any of the pole pieces. Nothing else is different. So I'm really, really happy with the way that this sounds. Not leading the witness, I don't think, but I feel and hear a little bit more air and openness, which is exactly what I wanted. Prior with the 250K volume pot, it was a real mids sledgehammer, which is great in its own right, but I think you lose a little bit of articulation, especially with the higher gain stuff. So now that there's a little bit more air, as I feel and hear, I think there's a little bit more articulation in a higher gain sound, which I really, really like. So I think this thing's great. Love the guitar, love the HSS versatility, and I think it was a really cool experiment and something that had very minimal variables. So let me know if you hear what I hear, or if I'm just making it up and I happen to be hearing what I want to hear. Curious your thoughts. But I'll see you guys in the next one, and thanks for watching.